What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Nanocast, a brand new podcast all about the cryptocurrency Nano. Nano's fast, fearless, scalable, and led by a driven team. It's inspired thousands to participate in the development of apps and services, and on this podcast, you get to meet some of those people and learn what they're up to. This episode's going to be a little bit different. Instead of doing an interview, we're just going to be hanging out. It's me, Andy, and Wimpz. Andy is, of course, from Nano Things, and Wimpz is a mod on the trading Discord. So we're just going to talk about Nano, and it's going to be awesome. Now, I wanted to get a little bit, people already know you, Andy, from the first episode, but just in case they didn't listen to that, I was wondering if you both could tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you got into Nano.
I'll let Wimpz go first.
Oh, boy. So a buddy of mine was visiting, and he told me how he's like, wow, crypto's going nuts. And this was, I don't know, it was kind of March, I think, of 2017. Mm. And he's like, man, I sold my Ethereum at $20. And I was like, I was looking into it. So since then, I kind of looked into, that night, I just sat on the internet looking at it. Because I knew about Bitcoin for many years, just from Reddit. People were tipping it and things like that. But I never really got involved. I said, that's never going to work. I just think somebody explained it very poorly to me. Anyway, so I just spent hours every single day, every night looking into cryptocurrencies. And I kept buying, well, initially I bought the top of NEM, was one of the first ones I bought. And I kept buying just things I saw on Reddit, and I didn't really realize and understand market caps. Yeah. And I'm putting very little bit of money because people said, only invest what you can't afford to lose. So I'm investing, $50, $200, here and there. Mm-hmm. And I said, wait a minute. So if this hits Ethereum's market cap or even like Iota's market cap, it's not really going to make me any money, And I wanted to be the one that found Ethereum when Ethereum was $1, mm-hmm. So I spent more time on research and looking further down in the market caps for things that I thought had good tech. And one day I just went looking through page 4, I think it was, and Rayblox was there at $10 million market cap, I believe at the time. It was about 8 cents. No, actually it was about 12 cents then, I think. But it was $10 million market cap, and it had good volume.
That is very early.
Yeah, and I looked through it, and I was like,
$10 million, man.
Yeah, and I said, it's like, wow, this is no fees, it's instant. I joined the Slack after I read through the white paper a little bit. I checked the Bitcoin Talk announcement thread, and I saw Not So Fast, the trader and miner from Twitter. He was like the 4th comment, and he's like, oh, this seems really interesting. It was like 2014, I think it was. And I really trust his picks because with miners, he does a lot of spec mining, and this wasn't something that he could do, but he was still interested in it, and he really does his research. If he's going to spec mine, he's mining at a loss for a project he sees as long term. Mm. And the fact that he was in something that was pretty much pre-mined, he was really interested in it. It sparked my interest to look into it more. So. I joined the Slack. I talked to Mika, back then was one of the developers, and Colin was very active. It was a lot of Venezuelans. It was mostly people complaining about the faucet for it being up and down, and people wanting it closed. And then there's people like me wanted it closed because of the inflation. I already bought mine, so. So that was September 1st is when I joined the Slack, and I made my first purchase from BitGrail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You got it off of BitGrail before it was too late?
Yeah. So, and that's one thing is where I spent, 6 months or so in crypto. I watched so many videos of people's mistakes that they made, and I read about Mt. Gox. And so I've never really trusted exchanges. I always knew it's something that I need to get off immediately. So, whenever I buy, I ask people in the Discord or Slack, hey, are withdrawals working? Is there a minimum? Do you need to be verified? and I look through it and what are the fees, so I don't get stuck with like sending something there. And and then I purchase and send it right to the wallet, especially if it's instant and feeless.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see why you can't go back and forth if you want to. But I guess that's the reason why a lot of people arbed between BitGrail and Mercatox and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
That's how you call it.
I want to throw in something here. This is just like something that annoys me about the BitGrail situation. A million things do, but there's like this sentiment that if people had just gotten their Nano out of BitGrail, they'd still have it. But it's like if the BitGrail started missing back in like October, and most of the people bought their Nano in December, then they couldn't have got it off anyway. It was already gone.
Yeah,
and I think people don't think about that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I was confused about, because there was multiple times that I had friends in December that bought and they could withdraw. What I've read, a couple people, because I think the website showed that you could withdraw, but in reality you couldn't. And that was the confusing part. I think that was the issue, whereas typically it'll say wallet and maintenance and things like that. But, I took issue with a lot of people that said, oh, yeah, I couldn't get mine off. I looked ahead of time and it was working. And that seems like the same story for everyone. It's like, well, is this all on BitGrail's part? Was the website wrong? Was it telling people that withdrawals were open when they weren't? That I would be very frustrated with. And during the hype and the build of Nano or Rayblocks at the time, am I saying it right? Rayblocks? I forget. Yes. I always mess up.
I think so. Yeah.
Rayblocks is
I know
correct.
people said Ryblocks, but
they're wrong.
And then and at the time it was pumping, so people didn't even want to sell for BTC because I think Bitcoin withdrawals were open.
Yeah.
Because of the fear of missing out on the pump. And it's really unfortunate because I know a lot of people were buying into that pump, and that was the reason why the price is going up so high, which is helping people like me and anyone else that bought early. But I really think towards the end of December, when it got really shaky, I think it was the end of December, people were still getting really greedy about the price being so low on BitGrail. Or was it high? I forget. And they were trying to add to their stack, which is understandable.
It was low on Mercatox and high on BitGrail.
And both exchanges were having issues, yeah.
Correct.
We had KuCoin launch as well. I think once KuCoin launched, we had a relatively reliable exchange that basically everyone migrated to KuCoin, and then the only people that were left, I think, were the people who were sending the ABS back to BitGrail from KuCoin to Merca. So there was withdrawals enabled for a good chunk of time before KuCoin came live, and I think people were just going for it as much as they could when KuCoin came on. I know I did one. I think I did two. I got caught on my second one for like 300.
Wimpz, you bought it. What was the price when you bought your 21st Nano? What was the price of or Rayblocks? What was the price back then at $10 million?
Well, it varied. When I first bought, I bought kind of a bit of a pump, and it was about, I want to say, anywhere from 10 to 12 cents, maybe.
Okay. And so then it went down to 10, and you're like, dang!
Yeah, and it I think at $8 million market cap was a point when I bought as well in mid-October. So I made multiple purchases through BitGrail. I have a screenshot I took of mine, and I think it's anywhere from 1,400 sats to 3,500. It's roughly the range where I bought. But it's 8 to 12 cents throughout. I bought again in mid-November. And I had a Slack group with a couple friends of mine that were, I would go out for drinks with, and they'd say, I want to get into this. And I'd warn them about the exchanges and the risks involved and buying the top, because I did it myself and everyone tends to do that. And a lot of them they bought Nano, and one of them left it on BitGrail. Actually, 3 friends left it on BitGrail. And I told them, get it off there immediately after you buy. And those people, they're close friends of mine, and they know they messed up. And this is, and I lump a lot of the people that lost money to my friends like that. They were kind of just a little lazy. And for those that bought when it was truly locked up, and everyone told them withdrawals were open, I feel terrible for it. But when it comes down to people that just did it blindly to get in and fear of missing out and just sent money there without really researching ahead of time, I have little sympathy for it. And I know it's kind of mean, but I think maybe it's because I spent so much time doing so much research ahead of time to where I know these risks. And I also didn't invest a lot of money into crypto. I did not dump in a lot. It's a savings account for me. You know, I treated it like, here's instead of going to the bar tonight, I'll spend it on crypto, you know? And a lot of people were dumping like 6 figures into this at that point, you know? So.
Right. Which, when it comes down to it, I mean, for anybody who who hasn't put much thought into making money on crypto, the best way to make money on crypto is to put money in, just like you would a savings account, a little bit at a time over a long period of time. Yep. And it'll slowly grow. Don't get all hyped up and put all your money in at once. So.
Yeah, it's tough. I had another buddy that I didn't know him that well, but he's a mutual friend. We have a mutual friend that said, "Yeah, get into crypto. It's great." And he dumped in 50 grand during the pump in December. And then it was going, and it went up to 80 grand. He said, "Oh my God!" He threw another 50 grand in at the top, and he was up to 180 or so. And I don't know what it's at now. He hasn't really talked to me, but had he spoken to me ahead of time, I would have said, "Listen, very little bit of money." I give people a disclaimer that, you know, because I do not want to be responsible. I don't want text from you. I don't want your mom calling me. I don't want your girlfriend calling me or wife saying, "You made my husband lose our life savings." You know, I really, I warn people a lot, and I show the crashes. I tell them to spend hours before buying. Even if you end up buying it a little bit higher, be very careful. So
yeah. My disclaimer is, or not my disclaimer, but my instructions are, you need to spend at least a month, maybe 2 months, just watching the market. Pick some coins, just, you know, watch them, read about them, and I don't think you should buy anything until you've done that for a couple months.
I agree with that. Well, I did with $50, and I bought it from Changely, and it was like a 15% fee or something. So I got $35 of them at all-time high. So it was nice.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, that would be another thing. It's like, you probably need to put in a little bit of money just because that'll help you keep up with it. Otherwise, you might not care.
Just get used to the volatility. Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, so Andy, what about you? Who are you? Where do you come from?
I'm from the UK. I'm totally new to crypto. November was when I first started getting educated on it. I said in the previous podcast that I wanted to buy a graphics card and went online to try and find the one which I wanted, and the miners had bought them all, so got me started reading about mining. Then Bitcoin. That was it. Then I'd done what you guys had said, just put in $50 in through Coinbase. Pretended like I was sort of trading it, and thought that $50 was awesome. Then thought, well, I'll put the money from the graphics card into it and see what happens. And I quickly found, to be honest, Ray Blocks at the time through a Nano, through an Iota subreddit. Just saw that it had the basic tenets of being instant, feeless, and scalable. Could take out Bitcoin, and just got involved from there. That was me.
It's funny he mentions Iota.
Yeah,
that was something when I was looking at it at $10 million market cap, and I was like, if they close the faucet, it'll be fully distributed. And if it's fully distributed, $10 million market cap, I was doing this in my head. It's like, well, if it's a $100 million market cap, which is very small, I'll make 10 times my money. And then if it hits, 1 billion, if it matches Iota, I figured it was like a superior Iota without the marketing, the big team, the ICO money. And I said, in time, if this could get up to that market cap in 2 to 3 years, I'll be in great shape. Because then you're looking at a huge multiplier. And And that's how I invested. I did that with many small coins. I looked for things that were maybe not ICOs, because ICOs is either you get in on the ICO early, which many of them failed, or you find a coin with a solid team that's doing it the old school way, and I picked that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. My Iota story is, since we're talking about Iota, is I bought it right after the ICO. So that was at the time an all-time high of like 60 cents. And I held it for like months. I only bought like a couple thousand. But I held it for months, and it went down to 30 cents, and I was like, F it, I can't wait any longer, and I sold it. And the next week is when it had its crazy bull run. So that that's the story of my life with all cryptos, really. About.
Well, the funny thing is I bought it at 19 cents Iota, and I don't remember the sats, and I left it on Bitfinex, which is funny because I was so new to crypto. And plus they didn't really have any working wallets. So I was like, I don't trust any of this stuff. It's so confusing. I downloaded it. It was like, I'm not a tech guy. A friend of mine, it went up to something like $1.10, and a friend of mine FOMO'd in, and he classically does this every time. And I said, I don't know, man. And then it tanked down to, I guess, 30 cents again, and then had a run up. I sold it at 50 something before around there. And then it went to $5, like immediately after that. I said, okay, great. Yeah. But I did buy more Nano with that in November. So I think it was around November when I bought more. I cashed that out. And I just said, you know what? I'm never going to make a lot of money on Iota. There's no way it's going to hit $10 billion market cap. And I think it did at that time. It did. Yeah.
And that was a stop. My trading history has up to this point has brought me to, I'm just going to keep this and I'm just going to hold it. I'm not going to trade anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Now you're holding Nano to $5.
Yeah. Nano will either be, right, exactly. Nano will either be the thing or I'll lose it all, and that's fine too.
Yeah. Ride it all the way to the bottom.
Well, that's the thing. If you're going to hold Nano, I'd rather hold Nano, something I believe in, to zero than hold something else that is like vaporware, testnet, weird team, not really sure if it's really going to work, just for a short-term profit, and then maybe it goes to zero. I'd rather lose it all on something I really believe in. And I think that's why I get frustrated with a lot of people. It's like, do you really know what you invested in? And if you don't, then it's probably a good idea that you sell it and find something that you really believe in and hold on to it. I think that's crypto.
I think that's why Nano is probably so low at the moment, is because the only people that are left are people like us who did get in relatively early and we're still up on where we bought it. It makes it much easier for us to just sit here and wait it out because we're still in the green when it comes to Nano. But
no, I think you're totally right.
A lot of the people that bought the pump, anyone that basically bought after 100,000 sats, has probably sold now. Just sold and is saying, "Oh, well, I'll buy back when it turns around."
So, yeah, well, that's natural. I mean, it's after you're down so much, do you even have more money to put in? Because a lot of the people in December probably didn't limp in like they should have, and then it's like, "Oh, buy the dip." It's like, I can't even afford to. Right. It's just funny. Yeah. That guy that spent $100,000, he's like, "Well," I was like, "Dude, it's going to go down. You can buy more." He's like, "I spent it all." It's like, well, I think that's a lot of bag holders right now, and that's where the anger comes from. Yeah. It's really unfortunate, but you know, and anyone that's been in for a year or so has bought the top on many coins. It's just, and then seen it like Iota, where I was like, you know, it's not going to go back up. It's too much FUD. The coordinator, blah blah blah, and then it hit $5. And even Verge, it's like, how is Verge pumping after all of this? It doesn't make sense. So
yeah, and that's actually a great transition for me to say a little bit about who I am or how I got into crypto, because that hasn't been done yet. I FOMO'd into Bitcoin in 2013 when it had its run up to $1,000, and I bought Bitcoin at $1,000, and then I watched it go all the way down to I sold at 600, so I didn't watch it go all the way down. fortunately, I still believed in it, even though I got burned. I was like, well, that was just stupid. That was my fault. And I bought back in at 250, so that worked out okay for me. But it's that's just sort of. I feel like no matter how much you tell people you need to watch these markets for a couple months, it's like when they finally get into it, everybody's got to learn for themselves.
Yeah, and crypto, it goes so quickly. That's what I loved about it. If you're just getting into something new, there's so much going on. The charts, all the different coins, things pumping, things dumping. It's exciting, and it is. I mean, some people would definitely get the gambling bug with it. I don't think I felt that I was gambling. I felt like I was. There's an opportunity to be smart, isn't it? It's an opportunity to get paid to be smart. So people do just want to get straight involved as soon as they think they found something or have a theory that they're confident in.
Well, that's a good point too, because then that's where I didn't have enough money to put in. I had debt and things like that I was paying off, and it's like I mentioned, if you spend more time instead of money, you can do well in this space. If you spend more time researching, it's 1,500 plus coins. You can't research them all. That's obvious. But if you could somehow find one or two that are your big bags, your potential 100x coins, over time, you only need one or two a year, or even one in general, that will do that over time. Especially if the team is solid, you don't need to spend a lot of money, and I did it. So I feel bad for a lot of people that put their savings and things like that in the crypto, but you could do it with a lot less money, and you could sleep at night. If you just spend more time studying it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If you put your savings into crypto, you're gambling. If you put all of your savings in, obviously you're gambling, but any decent percentage of your savings into crypto early on in your crypto life, it is gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And it can go either way.
Yeah.
I had no savings.
No, same. I mean, I had like a very small amount of money and put in like 20% of the money I had to my name, and
yeah, smart.
I probably was gambling at the time.
Yeah. Well, 2017, it was technically gambling, but it worked out for everybody. So,
yeah, if you were there in the beginning of 2017, even now after December's pump, and even after September's China FUD, what was going on, that month was like, oh, this is the volatility I've heard about.
Mm-hmm.
Even at May, it dipped a bit, and then September hit, and a lot of friends just got in September. And they were going through a tough time, and I convinced them to buy Nano in October and November, and they ended out on top. They're still up by a lot, but
right.
I think September was really good for me to handle December and January rather, February. It's a larger amount of money, but it's still the same type of dip percentage-wise.
Yep, and I would say, unfortunately for the Nano community, a lot of the people that got into Nano didn't get into crypto at all until December.
Yep.
So that
Absolutely.
also explains kind of the sentiment behind it.
Yeah. I think I'm a bit obsessive, and when I get into something that's really interesting, and it's more about the amount of research, the amount of work you put in. I like those types of things. Like if it's a skill, as opposed to money and investing into something. This is more about, you could really do well in this space. It's very open. It's very welcoming. And if you find the right projects, like I'm only a mod at Nano because I've just lingered there so much. It's not like I'm very good at that. And it's probably the only Discord I sit in all day because I'm in many. But it's a really good community. So even if it's got its bad, people sometimes, but.
I have a Slack that I hang out in, but you guys are making me want to come hang out in the Discord. I think I'm going to have to.
It's worth it. Probably not a good time at the moment.
Your productivity will go way down. I do have a Slack still with my friends that are not in the Nano Discord, and I just kind of have to keep them fairly even keeled. And I think the majority of us during the downtimes, at least we handle it by cracking jokes about how poor we're going to be. And that's how we deal with any bit of dips. And you could do it one way. You could freak out, panic, or you could just laugh at it. Like, I can't believe I had that much money and now I'm so poor right now.
Right.
Just uninstall Delta off your phone and just forget about it.
I just love the pain. I think it's like pouring salt in the wound every morning, either up or down.
I had a week of getting notifications of your portfolio has significantly decreased over the last hour. I just fucking uninstalled it.
Just delete that app.
You don't need that in your life. That is like bad news delivered constantly. Every time something went bad, it went to the phone, and I just had to get rid of it.
Yeah, I've been poor, not poor. I don't want to say I've been poor. There's many people, but I've always done well with very little money. And there's a Louis C.K. skit where he's talking. It's called "Being Broke." You can find it on YouTube. He gets so part of it. It's like, you ever get so broke it's just funny? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna shut off. You haven't paid your bill. We're gonna shut off your phone. He's like, shut it off. I don't care. It's like that's just where it's like I don't. At some point, it's like I'm so comfortable being broke, and I'd probably be very uncomfortable being rich.
Yeah.
To where I still get value out of the space because I feel like I'm learning, and I feel like I'm in on something bigger than it is right now.
And the further it goes down, the further it's got to go back up. So we get to go on the roller coaster another time.
Euphoria again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But this time sell at 37.
30, yeah, and then it hits 87.
Everyone sell at 37.
I know, really. It's gonna. There's gonna be a trigger at 37 exactly.
Oh my god, the Discord will be pumping when it gets up to about.
I'm
37.
setting my satoshis to that right now.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna sell at 36 just since you said that.
But I'm gonna leave it in Binance this whole time waiting. By the way, I'm gonna leave it on exchange.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea.
Everyone will do that. Yeah.
What do you think is going on with their servers? All right, here's my theory. Since you asked, they're totally gonna make trading pairs with Nano.
Oh, Binance?
Yeah.
That's total FOMO. Did you see Jay from Nanex, who is an absolute legend and you should approach to come on the podcast? He's released a Medium article just now about pledging some of his trading fees over the next month or so to the BitGrail
really?
Foundation.
That is awesome.
But also in his Medium post, he talked about producing implementation strategies.
Did you just read that while we were talking? Did that just happen?
No, I read it just before, but it's super interesting because Nanex works perfectly, the wallets work perfectly. They have from the start, and he's saying that he can help the other exchanges implement that, help to put something in place to do it.
That's if anything, that is a credit to the developers of anything of Nano. It's like you have Jay that understands the tech, that has deep knowledge of it, and he has no issues with his exchange. And these blockchain copycats that are added to Binance or like ERC tokens and things like that, it's easy to implement. It's just copy and paste essentially in a way. Of course, and this is where I have issue with people coming into Discord. It's like, what's going on? Why is the wallet down? Listen, they're changing. They're adding universal blocks. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is not just, hey, this is some small thing. This is a big deal. And these exchanges are not used to the transaction volume that they're getting from Nano. It's like you have something that's moving super fast, and feeless and things like that, and they haven't used a block lattice. There's nothing else that is a block lattice. Same reason Iota was struggling to find exchanges in the beginning. It's not something that's really easy. The problem was there's so much demand for it. Nano, BitGrail couldn't handle it, and they saw the volume that these exchanges were doing. It's like, okay, now the exchanges will list it. But then they're like, okay, we'll do it. And Nano's like, well, wait, you got to do it this way. No, we got it. We know. We got tons of coders here,
Yeah.
And you run into
we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, it worked great. It worked great. I remember it's on Binance. Never mind, it's down. And
Yeah.
and then it's just like there's so many these hiccups, and I wasn't in Bitcoin early like you were, but I have to assume that exchanges had issues in the early days of Bitcoin, early days of Ethereum,
Mt.
things
Gox,
like that.
right? I mean, that's
Yeah, well, Mt.
the
Gox
classic
is, yeah.
example. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not really the type of problem you're talking about, but I mean, it's still.
I think it's a positive sign, all in all, really. It shows how revolutionary it is, and it's nice to see the exchanges now making an effort to get it just right. It must mean that they believe in it at least.
Back in, I started with Coinbase, obviously, because that was the only thing that was there, and I've just never made the switch to Gemini, which is stupid, but I should, but I just haven't. So like back in June, I bought a Bitcoin, and it literally got like stuck on the exchange. Like I didn't have access to it for like a month and a half. And I sent probably like every day I sent a support email. I was like, hey, I need to get this, because like that was at a point when I watched it go from like whatever it was at to like 3,000. I was like, I want to sell this. By the time I got it, it was like 2,000. So I know all that to say that like even recently, an exchange as big as Coinbase is having issues with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's been around for so long. Can you imagine if that happened with Nano for a month and a half? What that would do to the price? I mean, the liquidity isn't there. That's why the price fluctuates so much, because it's not liquid enough, and it's new tech. So for me, I'm very patient. Like I work in the music industry, so I think patience is needed. It takes years to develop an artist. It takes many years to do certain things. I have crazy amounts of patience, and I think with new tech, you have to be patient with it. Like people are railroading Tesla right now for being innovative and pushing limits and doing things because their CEO makes weird remarks on the internet, but he's pushing innovation and tech, and they're killing him for it. It's like, who else is going to do it? If you're not. And it's the same with Apple. When Steve Jobs was this weirdo that kept pushing these ideas, people were just ripping him nonstop. And it's the same for any new tech. It just kind of has to battle. And I think a lot of our community forget that. And I think it's really important to be really patient. I know you're down. Don't worry, it's fake internet money. You'll be fine. So
we sort of exist in a weird vacuum, because the fact of it is, 5 months ago, it was the beginning of December. It was on BitGrail and Mercatox. There was no wallets, nothing in beta. There was nothing, and 5 months later, we are close to full release of mobile wallets. We're on Binance, KuCoin, more exchanges obviously to come. Yeah. We've done a lot in 5 months.
Oh yeah.
Colin only went full time in December, so in the grand scheme of things, we are making good progress. It's just people check every day to see if things have changed. They're going to get angrier and more disappointed when they see that it hasn't. But it's only been 5 months.
It's also, I think a lot of our community is fairly new to crypto, like you mentioned. So they don't understand the GitHub activity. They don't understand that it's open source and there's so many projects are coming through it. I even remember, I guess, for Brain Blocks, he's stepping down to focus on something else, and everyone's like, "Oh, see, they're abandoning the project." It's like, no, it's an open source project that anyone can use. I think they don't really understand that this is kind of a global thing that an entire community can be part of. And GitHub activity is great.
Yeah. Brainblocks has expanded, if anything. I mean, he's employed. It was a hobby. It was a piece of code he wrote one weekend, and now I think they're looking for people to join the team.
Oh, there's tons more on the team, I believe, and they're doing a new website and things like that. It was on the roadmap. There's plenty on the roadmap, and even with the smart cards and things, we're still very early. I always talk in the chat about people, like how long it took just these credit cards in the U.S. in the world. It was 40 years. Feels like it was like 3 years, to us, because we're mass adopters. But
yeah, dude, if Nano gets on like credit card type things. Oh man, that'd be so great. Yeah.
With the smart cards, yeah, that was in the roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
obviously
integrate it into systems that already exist. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, and I feel like Austin was talking to me a bit about that, and how that.
Did your dog just like close the door?
Someone just came into the house. That's why.
Okay.
But a little sidetracked. But it's like with the smart cards, I don't know if they'll be. I guess according to Austin, if it can work on ATMs if they support it, and I kind of need clarity on that since I'm not a programmer. Will they have to be like crypto ATMs and things like that? I don't understand. Will it have to be converted to USD or your local currency first? Is there a way to do that rapidly through like a market sell or something through your phone? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, but even when Gary Tan spoke, he said, this team is one of the teams that really is focused on mass adoption, and that he truly believes that. So
the roadmap was ridiculously ambitious. We've obviously waited a long time for it to come out, and it was amazing when I started reading it. And
but what about all the cool graphics?
No, I think that
it's nice and simple.
That roadmap seriously, I think, set like a new paradigm for what roadmaps should be like and what they will be like. I think that other teams are going to follow suit because putting dates on things is just so stupid. So and just like really putting out a grand vision, like this is what we like, this is going to be a currency for the world, and this is right now these are the things that have to be done. And well, I think we've reached probably the attention span of my wife and kid, but also of our listeners. So we probably need to wrap it up. But I think that we kind of did an okay job of talking about Nano. We talked about Nano sometimes, and I think we'll have to come back and do this because that was fun. So what did you guys think? It's a good time.
Yeah, that was nice and relaxed.
All right, cool. Well, if you guys like this, make sure you leave a comment. Really, the YouTube channel is the only place you got to do it. So leave a comment, let us know you like it, and you'll be entered to win a set of stickers from Nano Things as well. So
and follow the Nanocast on Twitter as well.
That's right. Follow the Nanocast and follow Nano Things and join the trading Discord. And so it goes. I still don't have an outro for Nanocast, so I don't know. Go and buy some Iota. All right. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.